Yeah, no.
I don't think it's grooming.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
like-
maybe I'm thinking more controlling.
I think
That's what
it's just controlling.
But why are we using like therapy speak?
Is it a therapy word?
Grooming? I feel like that's kind of like a bit of a buzzword.
It
it's
is a
called.
buzzword.
It's the spin. It's like you're using the spin to paint something in such a way that it's going to be perceived negatively.
What I'm trying, I guess, okay, controlling. What I was trying to get at is the idea that just because a man is providing a lot of money,
Okay. Damien, can you close the door?
a woman's gonna, like what we were just talking about with Ashley, could feed into that, get the money, but she's not truly, like he may be devotional to him.
Mm-hmm.
She's not truly in it with. That's
Well,
what I'm trying to speak
Who's grooming
to.
who in this situation? Is he
I
grooming
regret
her?
now saying the word grooming.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move off of grooming, but
Yeah.
you have a problem with, it sounds like older men dating younger women.
Because I think the younger woman hasn't quite developed. I know the whole maturity thing is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but a young woman hasn't really developed emotional regulation.
Really?
I mean, some older men don't develop that for a while.
True.
So there's, I think you can find these levels of development at any age, though. I mean, I'm 35. As somebody who's dated women older than me, my age, younger, I've met really cool, amazing, like well put together younger women, 20, whatever. And then I've met women who are older than me, women who are my age, who are fucking basket cases.
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
true. Yeah.
Like literally terrible people. So this idea that, I think there's this tendency, especially when you're young, I think, like when I was maybe in high school or in my early 20s, you look up to people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You think these people have it all together. A lot of these people are still just as dumb as they were when they were younger. Mm-hmm. Like this idea, actually, I think a lot of people get worse because if you got mental illness of some kind, that shit typically doesn't get better. It gets worse over time. If you're dealing like a personality disorder, personality disorder, BPD, bipolar, NPD, whatever it is, that shit gets worse as you get older.
Yeah.
It does not get better unless you've had some pretty intensive psychiatric care or therapy. Even then, I don't think that most of that therapy stuff is bullshit.
What about the whole idea that a young woman who hasn't been tainted by a lot of men, not just body count, I'm saying,
Tainted.
I think this is a certain red pill says this, but young women tend to come with less baggage.
Do you think that's true or not?
Oh, because
Here-
you described one that I do agree with the wants to go to parties, wants to get brought around the world by, yeah.
But how about this? Like, can I ask you a question? So you said you're 36, right?
Yes,
Do you have more baggage now than you did at 18?
of course. Life provides
That's-
baggage, yeah.
The longer you live, the
But-
more experiences you've had, good and bad.
Exactly, but what is that in a man saying, I don't want a woman because she does? To me,
She doesn't have baggage. What's wrong? What would be wrong with that if that's a man's standard? I
does
want a
she
woman
have
with as
baggage
little
from?
baggage as possible. What is actually wrong with wanting somebody who doesn't have baggage or who has less of it?
And also,
Wait, let's let
Because
her
if-
answer real quick.
if shit gets hard, do you think you're truly capable of leading her through the?
I think that there's the opposite. I think the more wounds you've inflicted, honestly, I think in some situations, not all, sometimes you can get thicker skin, sometimes you can develop more of a resolve. I actually think the more wounds you have, I think it makes you more susceptible to a subsequent wound. So, like, if you've been punched in the face, this happens with MMA fighters. If they start getting a bunch of scar tissue, they become much more likely to bleed from that location had there not been any scar tissue at all. And so you see this often with fighters. Their scar tissue just opens up super easily. They just, whole face super bloodied up. I don't know if that's a perfect one-to-one comparison, but like this idea that, as a woman, I've been through so much shit, so much trauma, so much baggage. I don't think a lot of people heal. Like, I think you have trust issues now. You're going to be moving in a certain type of way. Are you going to be able to love me as deeply? Are you kind of on guard? Are you reserved? Are you holding something back? I think most people their first love, probably gonna, not always, but like you're a little bit more on guard after you've dealt with a bunch of different situations.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. When you say you want a woman, you think women should be able to explore their own ideas, develop emotionally, that also endures negativity that comes with that. So it's a catch-22 in a sense, because now you have this woman, if this woman has experienced life, she's traveled, she's developed her own identity, she's got some scars from doing that, and that's less attractive to a man. That's essentially what he's saying. Some men might appreciate it, they might can endure it, but if a guy prefers a younger woman, it's typically because her impressionability is to his advantage. It means that she hasn't endured some of the things that would make her relationship habits more pernicious. You get what I'm saying?
I do. So the issue that's coming up in me with this is women are kind of raised, especially if the father was in their life, to want to go after and live a full life. So now you're telling women, no, you should have only your sole focus be about getting a man.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, we're not saying
We're having
that.
a discussion about age gap relationships. You have objections to age gap relationships. You think it's
But if
predatory.
she doesn't do that in
grooming.
her 20s, then she has a lot of baggage, and then men don't want her. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Did not say that whatsoever. But let me ask you a question. When you were younger, did you date older men?
No.
You've never had an age gap relationship?
No. No. I was raised with a mother who is 7 years older than her father, and they're still together.
Okay.
So I had a very different,
So you've always dated guys who are like 1 or 2 years, like around you, pretty much, or?
Yeah. I have
that's
dated
fine.
younger.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, but usually close in age. I appreciate the commonality.
Well,
a lot of
I want to
things.
get a question for the whole panel on the age gap relationship things. Who here is like fine with age gap relationships, or who here thinks it's predatory grooming? Predatory or grooming. Let me put an or in there.
I'm on both.
You got to speak into the mic.
I'm on both ends.
What does that mean?
Meaning, like, I myself have had age gaps, and I
Okay.
think women mature sooner than men. But I also think, like, who do women have baggage from? Like, a lot of times it's men doing certain things or toxic behavior, and they just stick through it out of love. And then they don't take accountability for what they've done to that woman, and then they move on to someone who's more likely to be naive or more likely to just take it because she's still kind of coming out of that Disney fairy tale, haven't like had my heart broken or had a lot of trauma, so I'm more hopeful, I'm more willing, and then she'll put up with his behavior, and then the cycle repeats where she then gets older and has baggage, and then they go for someone that's younger. And I think I don't have like a problem with age gap. Like, I have friends that have age gap, and like I've had it myself as well. But I do think that a man's inability to stay by a woman like long term and not just go for someone younger and then someone younger is
men's inability. Didn't you ended it with your 10-year relationship, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, so wouldn't that indicate your inability to stay with somebody long term?
He was younger than me.
So you were in a relationship with him?
Well, I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah, but like women overwhelmingly end relationships and initiate divorces. So this idea that men are like throwing you guys out, I don't really think that's the case. I think you guys overwhelmingly end relationships.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can go around the table, but I'd be pretty confident to say most of you guys probably say, oh, I ended it.
Yes.
Okay, but so how would that be evidence then how would that be evidence of men just like discarding women when it's women who like, you guys like to say, just one thing,
because like
one
a
thing,
woman
hold
leaves
on.
doesn't mean that like he hasn't done damage to
Oh,
her.
sure, I agree. Like the man could be physically violent and
Just
you
because
leave
like
him,
he doesn't,
that's totally
she doesn't,
justified.
like, yeah.
But I think those instances tend to be, I mean, some women have like some sort of attraction to like abusive, toxic men.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the responsibility on that is on women for like intentionally picking, like going after like toxic jerks who are abusive. I don't think you should be abusive to begin with, but like if you're attracted to that kind of guy, don't be surprised when you actually end up getting abused.
True.
But this idea that men are commitment phobic, it's interesting to me. So I don't really think men are scared of commitment. I think, and perhaps even if they are, there's some degree of justification for their fear of commitment, because when you guys do get commitment as women, you overwhelmingly end the commitment. So who's actually scared of commitment? 80% of divorces initiated by women. If you were just talking about like relationships and breakups, I've had a lot of women on the show. Overwhelmingly, they say, "Oh, I broke up with like most of my boyfriends."
May I share? It's because it's the young women. That's what I was just saying.
What do you mean? What? Hold on. What is that?
Because a woman, if she's dating someone, she's not fully knowing what she's wanting in life. She doesn't have her own inner compass, and she has a man come in, and things don't feel good for her. It sucks, and I feel for men in this. I genuinely feel for men in this. But he's leading them into a vision of "you're my forever," where she's waffling because she's like, "Oh, but I'm looking at other men, or I want to do this thing, or I want to explore doing." That's what I was literally talking about. Those women did that because they all married in their early 20s. He was, I don't know how much older he was.
I mean,
she belongs to the streets.
if she's thinking that and she's in a relationship with a good dude, back to the streets she goes. But I mean, I guess we can address that really quick, but I do want to go around the table. Like everybody's, are you cool with age gap relationships? Daisy, okay, yep.
It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. I think it would be hypocritical for me to speak on it because I've dated guys a lot younger than me, a lot older than me.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I have dated someone younger than me and someone older than me, and I definitely prefer the older men.
Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like older men are like more mature. I'd say like from now on, I'd only date a guy that's like at least 2 years older than me.
Okay. What about you?
Same as you said before, it's not about the age, it's about the experience. It's about the experience the people had in their past. It's not really about the age. So to me, it's fine. I had mainly older partners, and just my actual relationship is younger than me, but this is my first. And I just met him, and we were in the same, we had the same opinions. So we just clicked, but I don't see the age as like.
I agree with that.
I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Hunter, what about you?
Yes, I am okay with age gap relationships.
But how about this? Because I want to go on the using like the numbers you provided. A 35-year-old man dating a 20-year-old. Are there objections there from anyone on the panel where there weren't any objections?
As long as they met when they were over 18.
She was 20, he was 35.
Yeah.
That's when they started dating.
I think it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Nothing?
I've dated older men.
Yeah. I mean, I had that exact same age gap before, but I wouldn't necessarily want that for like my child.
Oh, okay. Look, I think.
And there are very smart women. I don't mean to discredit.
No, I think it's okay if he dates a dumb woman too. He can date a dumb chick.
You think that's gonna hold out? That's gonna hold out for the long term.
Here's the thing, though. I think an intelligent woman is a benefit for a couple of reasons. One, like you can actually, hopefully, it's difficult. So, like, if you're arguing with somebody who just doesn't understand logic, that's fucking brutal. Because you literally can't communicate. So, like, an intelligent woman, like, if you're like, no, you're fucking wrong, you don't have to say the F word, but if you're like, oh, here's why you're wrong, and she's like, oh, I can logically understand that, but if you're just arguing with somebody who's just stupid and doesn't understand logic, and this can be both men and women, by the way, you can be, maybe you guys have been arguing with a guy, and you're like, he's clearly wrong, but he just doesn't fucking recognize it. So like, both men and women can do this shit for sure. But like, so an intelligent woman, you can actually like, she'll actually be able to see it if she's wrong. And a stupid woman can too, but they can also double down on like the most ridiculous logic. So, but also when it comes to stupid women, you know, like there's kind of nice about somebody who's simple. Because if you're intelligent, that's where all like that. I think if you're intelligent, this is crazy.
Like Paris Hilton. Well, she wasn't actually stupid.
Like somebody who's just kind of simple. Like if you're, you know, the really smart people, like they all suffer from like anxiety and depression and all this shit because they're fucking thinking about like, God damn, in like 1 billion years the fucking universe is gonna whatever. You know, they're thinking about existential shit, and they're too smart for their own good.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So there's something nice about somebody who's just, as long as you're pleasant and I don't know, there's something a little nice about somebody who's simple. You know, they don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist. I don't want somebody who's going to be a problem though, because you can have a low IQ or you can be stupid and fuck it up in certain ways. But if you're just kind of I don't need no fucking Mensa, Mensa. That's the Society for like high IQ individuals. Rocket scientist lady. I don't know. I'll date a smart woman, but like, what's wrong with a stupid woman?
She can be stupid and agreeable.
Exactly.
The agreeable thing. So may I ask, how do men figure that out? Like, how do you figure out if a woman she's going to be unstable? Because you don't really know that until conflict arises, right?
Yeah, there's signs.
There's a lot of signs.
I would love to hear what the signs.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, because you said earlier, you were like, it's very hard to become my girlfriend. So how, like, what did your girlfriend do that you were like, okay, yeah, like that's the one? Like,
she was all in on a level that basically, if I could write down how I want my woman to behave, she pretty much checked every box. There was no pride, there was no ego, there was no insecurity. She tell me she missed me.
She had no insecurity? Wow.
But do you actually attracted to her in the first place?
Mm-hmm. I've known her for 2 years.
How long did you learn this?
I approached her.
Oh, you knew her for 2 years before you pursued her?
Yep, okay. I approached her, and from the way that I approached her, I could tell the type of girl that she was by the way that she responded to me. And then when we finally hung out and everything, and she said from the moment that I kind of approached her and then left it alone, like planted the seed and wanted to see if I got her interest. So I kind of basically just, told her how attractive she was, might have flirted a little bit sexually, and then left. Kind of left it like that to fester, to see if she would wonder about who I am. And she did. So then it became, I was her crush. She said I became her crush at that point. So she would say, hey, I want to see you. I miss you. She would say, hey, I'm about to do this. Or when I would post on my story, I'm about to go here, she'd be like, I want to go. Let's go together. Like, she would put herself out there for me. And then when we started dating, she would do things like get me little gifts. She would buy me little things, like here and there. She'd be like, oh, no, I get this for you or whatever. Like, we went to Busch Gardens and we was getting some drinks. She was like, I get the drinks. Things like that.
What's your sign?
My sign? I don't believe in astrology.
Tell me.
But we do.
But I'm a Sag. I'm a Sagittarius.
What's her sign?
She is a whatever. She's a Capricorn, actually, because her birthday is Christmas
That makes
Eve.
sense.
Yeah, so she's a Capricorn.
What made you wait 2 years?
What made me wait 2 years?
Yeah.
I was still kind of dating around. Like I said, because for me, like, it's hard for a woman to behave in a way that makes me feel like, oh, I can commit to this woman. And for me, you have to speak up. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if we involve with one another and you trying to play it safe, or you don't let me know that you're interested in me, like, she told me, she was like, I don't want you seeing any other women. I want you all to myself. She overtly stated that to me.
After the 2 years?
Yes, because she already knew. She called them respectable women. She said, I knew you had respectable women. That's what she called. She don't want to call them hoes.
Were you guys just friends, or were you dating?
We was cool. Like, we would spend time together. We would do things. We were attracted to each other, but she didn't press the issue. She kind of just sat back and played her position and just focused on her life.
She was not attached.
Yeah, she wasn't attached in that regard. She would say that she hated that I didn't text her or I didn't invite her out places, but that's on my behalf, because when I'm single, I'm single. I'm just doing me. And then, we hung out a little bit more, and it finally got to the point where she finally was like, I want you all to myself. Like, I don't want you seeing other women.
Did you not scared?
Was I scared?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, because I'm like, I don't want to give up what I'm doing, but she made it worth it. She made it worth it. So
That's
yeah, she made it worth it.